All right, thank you, Dr. Costa, for that wonderful introduction. I want to start out by saying I'm really humbled by how cool this room is. It means a lot to me that so many people that I care about took some time out of their day to help show that they care about me and they're with me through this experience. So without any further ado, class is in session. I thank you guys for coming out today. Any good teacher would post their objectives for the day's lesson in the beginning of the room before they get started. So I have 3 objectives that I've been asked to fulfill today. The first is, who do I aspire to be as a teacher? What's my philosophy? What experiential education opportunities have I engaged in? What have I done to better myself, to become the teacher in the first part? And how am I prepared to maximize my student teaching internship opportunity? Well, I'd like to start out first by giving a little background about who I am. And I think these pictures sum it up a little bit well. This was me as a little kid. Whole family's over here, just talking, having a good time, and then there's Nathan all alone watching the tractor. I remember a few cases when we would visit my great-grandmother's farm that my mom here would go crazy. Where's Nathan? Where is he at? We lost him on this old wooden bank barn. But I would be sitting all alone at the top of the hill watching the tractor go back and forth. And that was really my first introduction to agriculture. I did not come from a farm myself, but both of my mother's parents come from dairy farms. My grandfather was also livestock manager at the Pennsylvania Farm Show for 30 years. So I feel like I sort of grew up at the farm show, and I was introduced to ag that way. I did not have FFA in high school. I realized too late that I could transfer to the neighboring district. But I was involved in the 4-H program because I could not be an FFA. I started that when I was 8 years old, and I took it to the top, eventually spending a year as 4-H state president, 2013 to 2014. Over in the corner there, that's just a little representation of things that mean a lot to me over the years. The first one is that blazer that I got to wear during my year in office. Also, I was a cross-country runner, very competitively in high school and for 2 years in college. I went to the state meet twice in high school. I loved that experience, and the pushing yourself and the mental game that's involved has really made a lasting impact for me over the years. I also enjoy running equipment myself. I was employed at Farm Ops and Services here at Penn State. I got the chance to learn a lot about working in a shop setting, a professional shop setting, and being an operator. I even got the chance to run some brand new pieces of equipment. Kind of disappointed to leave that job because I know I might never run something so nice again, including that brand new 2017 Mack truck, which when I drove it only had 400 miles on it. And keeping with the mechanic and automotive theme, when it comes to sports, I'm a huge, passionate fan of sprint car racing. That's a picture of me out there working on the car after a night we had a mishap. I got the chance to help a team this summer, and I hope to continue doing that. I speak in analogies a lot, and I kind of connect racing to that too. As an educator and being a mechanic on a race team, you can do all the preparation you want beforehand, before the car hits the track, but when the students go in to take that exam, it's basically hands off. You're watching a satellite in orbit, and you hope that you've tightened down all the nuts and bolts to make sure that they come home safely. So without further ado, who do I aspire to be as a teacher? Well, if you look in the packet that was passed out here today, you'll see a written copy of my teaching philosophy. Feel free to browse through that if you like. These are 2 quotes that really impact me the most. First is the advisor's role in the FFA opening ceremonies, stating that I'm here to advise you from time to time as the need arises. And second is this quote, which is also the one I chose to have up on that board, that I want to inspire people. the way I want to do that is also seen in this infographic that I put together. First, I set my teaching philosophy up kind of like the FFA Creed in a series of I believe statements. First, I believe in the three-circle model. I like how that has the opportunity to impact the whole student and not just while they're here for maybe 40, 50 minutes in your class each and every day. I like how you get to build life skills as well as the technical skills for the ag industry. I believe in collaboration is next. I would be lying if I told you that as a teacher, I am the source of knowledge in the room. In the previous presentation, Mr. Cahill referenced the old style of education where a student is a vessel to be filled with water, to be filled with knowledge. I'm more interested in teaching students how to think than what to think. But there is that technical area that needs to be covered in the process. But I will always do what it takes to make sure my students have the best education possible. I believe in continuing my own professional development. I love attending conferences and workshops, learning new ideas, even if it's just late night on Pinterest exploring new maybe classroom management techniques or other cool ideas. I love those quick little words to help maybe plant a seed in my mind that I can use for students. And I believe in the diversity of the program. I believe that the ag program by nature, with the three-circle model, has the potential to impact students more so than your average class such as English or math, because you get all that exposure with them. And lastly, you can see that as a quote that kind of highlights my thoughts on the subject of ag and ag education. So for those of you who are not familiar, I referenced the three-circle model. And I sort of want to explain what that means. In the center of this Venn diagram is ag education. This is where I strive to be. Classroom instruction, this is where you would see your typical classroom on a day-to-day basis. And I'm sure most of us are familiar with the FFA Leadership Laboratory, participation in the FFA Association. That is one of the components of the circle. And then supervised agricultural experience is the last. That is where we teach record keeping and financial literacy to our students. And so you have in the class intracurricular activity, and then outside guided exploration towards the areas that they might have found that interest them in the first two areas. I like how FFA gives you the chance to compete and be recognized for all your hard work in the other areas. They all complement each other very well. That's why it deserves a spot in my teaching philosophy. If I was to go to Build-A-Bear workshop today and pick out my own ag education program, this is a little bit what it would look like. Of course, being a person who enjoys shop, I have that included. But I also want to give the students a chance to specialize in an area that might pique their interest. So most students would start with the Introduction to Ag course, where we would go over the three-circle model, the different areas of the industry, exposing students to the opportunities that are out there, because so many citizens of this country and of the world do not quite realize the impact agriculture has on them. From there, they can choose mechanics classes, horticulture, business management, animal science, whatever they feel would be best for them as they move forward in the program. And above here is a bit of a scope sequence of what my schedule would look like if I was a student in that program. I also do want to note that the way I have things set up, it would not be of the most impact for that to be a one-teacher program. It would most likely be a program with multiple instructors, which I also see benefits to as well when possible. So, in my classroom, I want to incorporate FFA, as I said, with the three-circle model. It is an intra-curricular organization. Is there anybody out there that might know what that means? As I said, this is a class, and I was going to pick on some people. Well, due to the silence, I will tell you that intra-curricular means it is with your curriculum, as opposed to an extracurricular activity such as a sport. It complements what you do in your curriculum. Because FFA is included in the curriculum, I would have a part in my syllabus where participation in FFA would be weighed towards your final grade. I've been debating on that for a while. I even exchanged some ideas on one of our Teach Ag chats about it, how you could do that very objectively while still being fair to the growth and achievements of other students, especially the ones that would go far. But I figured whenever I was in high school, our music program, I was in one of our courses, and it was part of our course that we had to spend time outside of school with some practices and with some concerts, so I figured why not as well. In career development events, or CDEs, I would like them to align with the course content, but also I would never want to limit students the opportunity to pursue what they might be interested in. So for example, for those of you who might not be familiar, say I have no food products or animal products or any curriculum in my program. I would not make a push for my chapter to have a dairy foods evaluation career development event. However, students would come up to me and express interest. I would work with them to help them as far as they can go, but I would expect it to be student motivated. And sometimes my assistants might even be helping them find an outside coach. SAE integration. On one of my domestic study away trips, which I will allude to later, I really got to see the power of the SAE program, and it's a part that is often overlooked in ag programs today. I believe it is very important to start teaching students financial literacy and record keeping. Two subjects that I'm sure some of us can attest to. When you're thrown out into the adult world, you don't have much experience with. I want to give my students that leg up. I would like to have a program where 100% of students have SAEs, and I would propose that possibly every other Friday, or maybe twice a month, we would take some class time to update our record books, talk through any situations that might arise. I might be able to do SAE visits with students that I might not get to outside of school hours, but I would make sure that is fully integrated as well. So lastly, shop and lab integration. Something else that I have on my rack over there that means a lot to me is the shop coat hanging in the back. I've seen a lot of schools shift away focus from hands-on, such as welding or small engines or woodworking, electrical, even plant science and greenhouse. But I am a strong believer that is a very important thing that we need to provide to students because of the way it activates the psychomotor domain. I am an individual that loves to get my hands dirty, just like that picture. It gives me a sense of accomplishment, like I've built something, I've done something at the end of the day. And a lot of students don't get that opportunity whenever they're out in an average class or going through life. That picture that I have here on the bottom is just one I found, but to me that is the most rewarding sight that a teacher could have. A student that is showing pride in something that they built themselves. That's what attracted me to mechanics in the first place, is the idea of taking all these pieces of metal and fluids and wiring and electrical currents. You put it together, you make an engine, something that almost has a life of its own. A student could see a pile of lumber becoming a toolbox, such as what's up there. I want to give students that opportunity to work hands-on, and not only that, but there is a great need for those blue-collar type jobs in the industry. I believe students could be able to be exposed to those opportunities in my program and pursue them further. So for examples of projects I might have my students do in the classroom I'll walk over here to my teacher toolbox. That's a term I like to use, being in a mechanics background. The toolbox, you have all your different tools. Whenever you need something, you reach in, you get it, you fix the problem, and you put it away. Well, I do the same thing with all our content, theory, practice that we've learned in the Ag Ed program. I have them in my own toolbox. That maybe when that student's acting up, I can reach into my teacher toolbox, get out this classroom management strategy, fix the problem, and put it away. So the first thing I have in the teacher toolbox today is this clipboard. This is something that I made in my wood shop in high school. It's just, I believe this was poplar and then 2 pieces of cedar. You would glue them together, plane it, join the edges. Then the top clip part, they come in packs of many to cut down on the price. I would estimate that you could do this entire project for less than $5, especially because when I did this, I made it with pieces of scrap wood that were left over from students' other projects. My mother actually uses this on a daily basis when she does in-home consultation work for budget lines, and she tells me at least once a week she gets a compliment on how nice her bulletin board is, and she gets surprised saying her son made that for her. So why not give that opportunity to one of my students? Now I'm going to try to show you a quick video on pedagogical abilities. Pedagogy, for those of you who might not be familiar, I put in my own words, then more the study of teaching, teaching practices. So in our teaching labs, we recorded most of them. I put together a quick highlight video. What I was focusing on, and I hope you can hear, is my ability to get on, well, literally on the same level with students, spending time talking to them, helping them through questions they might have on the unit, clarifying them, and leading them to the answer without giving it to them themselves.
Well, what we know in different mechanical methods, issues. Which so what is the kill it? So I walk out the equipment shed, what am I hooking my tractor to?
So the issue we were working through here is a particular lead at the station problem in the field and what types of solutions might be available. So we were discussing this here, this was my micro teaching when I got to go to Juniata Valley High School for 3 days. I taught a lesson on commodities, the 8th grade rotational course. This is me answering questions in class.
You hear people talk about beer made with malted barley and malted wheat.
It's always interesting to see what students teach. I covered barley, and that led into one girl wanting to know which state produced these, and I really appreciate that. And then this was one of the first labs we had. All my problems seem to revolve around Mr. Campbell for some reason. And in this situation, he was a student that walked in late to the first day of class, so I got the rest of the class started. And while they're still busy on their work, doing their own thing, they have no idea it's happening. I'm talking with him, personally welcoming him, getting him on the same track as the rest of the students.
30 seconds.
So, as I had alluded to, my problems revolving around Mr. Cahill. That is a great chance to segue to classroom management strategies and my classroom management plan. You'll follow me around here. These are 3 posters that I produced that have my own plan, my own thoughts built into them, as well as the thoughts of my cooperating center, Central Columbia. First, my expectations for the classroom are first and foremost, be a professional. I wanted that wording particularly because I'm teaching students how to be employable one day. I'm teaching them how to be professionals. Well, what does that mean? Well, it means you don't smell, first off. You don't use foul language. Teacher education panel is laughing, but that happens more than some folks might think. That you're not using tobacco while you're in class. Then next, you're respecting others and their property, self-explanatory. I want you to always be safe in everything you do. Keep that eye out for safety, as well as follow all school and district policies. That's in there to be overarching. If something is not covered in what I have, I can refer back to the student's handbook and the district policy, and we can find an answer in there. And last, be you. High school can be a difficult time for some students trying to fit in, but I want students that will be able to break the mold, follow their interests. Classroom procedures will be arrive early. If you're early or on time, if you're on time, you're late, and if you're late, you're left. Complete the bell work, which is an activity that I would have on the board when you walk into the classroom. It immediately engages students, gets them in the productive mindset that avoids them sitting down, talking to their friends, and you having to spend 2 minutes to get their attention. I want them to actively participate in all the instruction, make sure they clean up after themselves, and then complete the ticket out, which I will have most days. It's just a quick answer to a question that I could read through after, clarify their understanding of the content, or possibly let them pose another question they might have on it. And my consequences are, first, just a general reminder. So in a shop setting, that might be Jimmy isn't wearing safety glasses today. I'm just going to give him a general reminder to wear your safety glasses. That's part of our policy. Next would be a private conversation. I would do this in a public setting. I'm not going to pull them into an office and shut the door, but I'm not going to do this in front of their peers. Next would be a warning and a parent call. I still believe in the power of calling the parents, even though it might not be as effective as it might have been 20 years ago, but I definitely want to get the parents involved, seeing, let them possibly see what I see, trying to explain my situation to them. After that, it would be an office referral. That would be a removal from the class situation, especially in a shop setting. If you are constantly violating safety rules, you're not safe, and you are going to hurt yourself or others, we would refer you to the office, and then after that would be a detention. And when we're speaking classroom management, one quote that's always stuck with me is, students don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So while I was making posters, I took it upon myself to make one more on my own will. I will remember forever being in my senior year English class in high school. I already knew I wanted to teach at that point, and Mrs. Hyde was her name. She had a sign hanging above her blackboard that you could see every day, and I told myself when I have a classroom one day that I need something like that. Here's what it is. It's a general reminder from me to the rest of the students, reminding them, I believe in you. You are important. I'm here to help you grow. You are listened to, but I will hold you to high expectations. Always reminding them that you are capable and you will succeed. Signed, Mr. Repetz. I wanted to make sure that they know how much I care whenever I'm teaching them in class. Next video I have for you is a little bit on marketing and recruitment. This is just one that me and some classmates helped put together. And if this YouTube link did not come through on this, I'm going to explain to you how it goes. Well, this was set up as a little news story. That there was a disaster, and this is how the FFA program is helping. Great way to market to the local community. I believe, first and foremost, of always putting the blue jackets out there for community members to see, whether it's local fair, whether it's news stories. I know local newspapers are always willing to accept content. Maybe one of my duties as a reporter is to have an update on our chapter goings on in the local paper. So all different ways to market for my program. And for my community-based unit of learning that I was asked to prepare, mine will be in conjunction with the Columbia County Conservation District at Coker Park. I got the chance to visit here this past summer. Central Columbia always puts on a outdoor adventure camp, they call it, for elementary students over the summer. So one of my visit days over the summer was there. One of our activities that day was going out with the kids with binoculars looking for different kinds of birds and understanding their habitat. So we are going to help contribute to that habitat. In my woodworking unit, we're going to be building bird houses that would fit specifically to the types of birds that are in that park and donating them to the Conservation District. So what opportunities have I engaged in to be a better teacher? Congratulations, you made it through part one. Well, first and foremost, I have taken these ag courses. These are typical of anybody in my situation. Some ones that stood out to me particularly were 350, of course, the shop, pedagogy, not just because of being shop, but because it really gave me the opportunity to understand the best practices of how to teach that concept to students. And the last was APE 311. That was the class where we really get to learn about that leadership laboratory of FFA. Not having that for myself in high school, it was a nice introduction onto what all entails. Other key courses I have taken. The first, Ed Psych 14, this is a class I took at Altoona. This educational psychology. That was the first class where I really felt like it was based upon understanding the mindset of student, the cognitive processes that go through their head. I do believe that that class made me at times a better parent than a teacher, due to being in that class mostly with elementary ed majors, but I did appreciate that introduction. Next, I was a counselor at Shavers Creek Outdoor School, and my nature name was Twig. And side 226, I took that last spring. That was meets judging. This was not necessarily a conscious decision for me. I was sort of a last minute to be on the university meets judging team, but I never had a judging experience beforehand. So it was really good to get that experience. Also, I learned a lot about the meat science industry while I was doing it. Then the meats grading CDE is not often, it's one of the lesser participated in CDEs out there. I believe I could give my students an example pairing my content knowledge that I learned with that CDE. Word 201, that was tree climbing class. Plain and simple. I learned not only to have fun climbing up and down trees all class, but I learned about arboriculture, what it entails. It's really an industry that you see every day but never really think of. And there is a great need for arborists out there, or anybody in that industry. And I believe that's an area now that, with this knowledge, I can steer my students towards. Last was APE 360, which is small group leadership development. Having my background in leadership with 4-H, I appreciate the chance to really study it in the educational setting or collegiate setting. And then another class that was taught by that same instructor is an example of a project I brought along out of my teacher toolbox. This is the rough copy of a poster that I made for Brad's other class. That really helped me master art of PowerPoint and really helped me putting this presentation together today. So that is my example there of that. Certificates and accreditations. Going back to the teacher toolbox, first I brought along some keys. My keys, they are symbolized tractor keys for National Safe Tractor and Machinery Operation Program, NSTMOP. I'm now certified to give the test to students that might want to operate tractors basically on a farm in an employment setting. before they would have their license or otherwise be seen as qualified to do so. And it's a nice reminder to myself when I'm going about my day-to-day chores, how to be safe. The next is I obtained my Class B CDL. I did that through my work at Farm Ops. I believe this gives me an advantage over some other teachers out there in the fact that I can drive students to events because I have the endorsements for passengers, which is a vehicle designed to carry over 15 people, as well as air brakes. That's the way I put that. I can drive a motor coach, one of those fancy tour buses, but I can't drive a school bus just yet. That's big, hollow, yellow with a red stop arm, but I could easily achieve that with what I already have. And last, I am certified in the eyes of Red Cross to save your life if a tragedy were to occur during this invitation. Professional development opportunities I have taken advantage of. I was a National Teach Ag Ambassador at National FFA Convention. I got put together a separate cohort of 11 other future ag teachers from across the nation. That was a cool experience. I attended the PAAE conference this past summer. I really enjoyed being able to meet these fellow teachers and for the first time really feel like we were being welcomed into the community of ag teachers that really does exist in Pennsylvania. And last, I had been employed at the Pennsylvania Farm Show for a long time. So I alluded to my grandfather. When I was a senior in high school, I spent half my day at school and half the day I interned in the livestock office there, helping with the Kyle Show, All-American Dairy Show, and of course Farm Show, as well as whatever happened to go on. Well, that's turned into a job for me every winter break since. It's taught me a lot about the livestock show industry. I look forward to passing that along to students. My freshman year, I did a study abroad trip to Guanajuato, Mexico, looking particularly at the labor force differences and the differences in agriculture in general. You can see there's always a cowboy hat wherever it follows me. That's why I felt necessary to put it up there. But I appreciated seeing the differences in products grown, first and foremost. That's an agave plant. They make tequila out of that, for those of you that are not familiar. But then also we got to speak to some students that, or not students, but members of the community down there who have traveled to the United States for work, both legally and some admittedly illegally. And it's really helped me see that perspective of what they come from. Next, I am a 3-time participant in the Domestic Study Away program. Not many students in the Ag Ed program at Penn State get to say that. The Domestic Study Away has taught me that you do not need to have a passport to have a cultural experience. It varies so greatly within the United States itself. With that, I traveled to Colorado, to Mississippi, and to Tennessee. I was serving as vice chair for the Mississippi trip and the chairman of the Tennessee trip. They will always be the top of my experiences in the program. So, you've heard a little bit about who I aspire to be and what I've done. So now, how have I prepared to student teach this spring? Here's a little map. This is where Central Columbia is located, Central Columbia County, Williamsburg mailing address. Here's where we are in State College, and here's where I grew up in New Cumberland. It's a nice little triangle, if you will. It's almost the same drive to end between any of those 2 points on that star. I'll be student teaching with Mr. Doug Brown and Mr. Kurt Turner there. They have about 163 students advertised in their program in general. I appreciate that they have over 40 years of experience. Mr. Turner actually was one of Mr. Brown's students when Mr. Brown first started there. And Mr. Turner's been at it, I'd say around 13 years at least at this point, to give you that perspective on the experience that's out there. They also have a beautiful new facility between 2 classrooms, a meat science room, animal science room, a wildlife and forestry room, 2 shops that they share with Tech Ed, a dry shop, and a separate tool storage area. I could not ask for more out of that program there. As I evaluate where I'm going, this is their zip codes, which to explain to some members of the audience, just a general explanation of what their content or focus area is in the program. I believe that they are set apart from the rest in that they have great interaction between the teachers. Their facilities are wonderful, and they are a true career pathway school where students get to explore different career pathways, and their entire pathway through high school is career focused, while still getting knowledge necessary to be college prepared. The only area that in my general observations, I could really see some improvements to be needed was the FFA officer team. I know this year's senior class has been causing a few difficulties here and there for the teachers. And I know they do not go away for an officer retreat at the beginning of the year like a lot of chapters do. I wonder if that might be a technique or strategy to help ownership of the program. When I'm there, this can also be found in the packet that I passed out. This is what the classes I will be teaching. Like students have a schedule throughout the day, this is what I will be teaching throughout my day. My classes include agricultural careers, plant sciences, oxy-fuel, oxyacetylene, cutting, and woodworking in Ag 1. In Ag 2, I will be covering fasteners, plasma, MIG-TIG, so welding and plasma cutting. And lastly, food sciences with a focus area on crops in Pennsylvania. Ag 3 will be alternative energies, ATV safety, which is a really unique one, in plumbing. And then lastly, agronomy, turf grass, and composting in Ag 4. So I'm really excited for the challenge to teach some units that might not be seen in a lot of other programs in Pennsylvania. This is an example of the master calendar I put together as well. It has a few other important dates. Not only does it show when I would be planning to teach each unit in each class, I have the dates such as the 24th, that's the day for public speaking CEs. It's a nice way to help focus my mind. When I need to prepare sub-plans, maybe I should cover certain topics at certain times when I'm teaching. And lastly, I want to show my organizational system that I've put together. First off, I've been trying to make myself really organized on Google Drive. Just a great way to keep all my materials together at once. So I would have a lessons tab with each of my classes. I would then choose, say, Ag 3. Then I would go into plumbing, and this is a little bit of what it would look like. Here's each individual lesson plan with the handouts, etc. that would be included in that, as well as just a few other rubrics, overarching things here at the bottom. And with that, I also have put together these binders, which is essentially a printed out version. So when I'm teaching from a lesson plan, day-to-day basis in the shop or in the classroom, I can have a hard copy with me. So an example of the unit plan there. It's also nice to have things such as my assessments included in that. Say I need an extra copy, I don't need to go through all these files. I can pull a copy out of my binder, photocopy it right away. So my goals for student teaching are to continue with this organizational system. I've put a lot of work into getting myself organized, but I do notice I have problems keeping organized, so I definitely want to hit that. I definitely want to learn from Mr. Brown. I think that placement is going to be perfect for me. He is really good at planning ahead. He plans out months in advance whenever the chapter might do anything, and if you know me, I really hope that wears off. He also does a great job of showing enthusiasm. I know sometimes I can feel enthusiastic in my head, but does my passion for the subject always come forward to the students? I want to see if I can mirror him on that. And I also want to learn from his network in the local professional community, as well as state and national. And I would also like to increase my content knowledges for plant science and animal science, if at all possible. So with that comes an evaluation of my strengths and weaknesses that I feel I have. My strengths, I'm really good at seeing the good in others, seeing potential in my students that they might not see themselves. I know I've often been that advice friend for a lot of people, and I'm happy to continue doing that as an educator. I'm good at managing a lot of stimulus at one time, not always in the highest fashion of accuracy, but say I'm working with a student here in the shop, I'm really good at paying attention to what's going on behind me. The shop setting, that's very important. I'm good at classroom management, I believe, not only because of a tall and deep voice, which definitely I will admit is an advantage. I'm good at talking with students, stopping problems before they might start. And I've pushed through a lot in my life. I feel like no matter what happens during this experience, I will be able to make sure that tomorrow's a new day. The weaknesses I see are sometimes recognizing what I've been doing. I get so caught up in everything that's going on, but being able to look back at my accomplishments and recognize it and move forward. I do need to continue on this track of organization like I hinted to before. Time management on repetitive tasks, and I'd like to also add with respective tasks. I'm always looking for the coolest and newest thing to do. If you see me work on the computer, I have 2 monitors and each one has about 6 tabs open, and I write a bit here and I do this there. I need to make sure that I can be able to sit down and focus on one area for an extended period of time. And as well, clarity of instruction. I have a lot of thoughts that race through my head, and I need to make sure that I slow down and deliver my instructions to the students, as opposed to, okay, now go over there and get that classroom management poster, but before you do that, I want to make sure you have a pencil with you so you can go up there to the back of the room, and then when you're there, don't forget to partner up. Just stop, slow down, and talk. That also comes in handy with my lesson plans and pre-writing out my questions. So something that I've been fighting through, especially evident this past semester and past year in general, a lot of that focuses in that ADHD. I have been diagnosed with the inattentive type, which is not necessarily the squirrel type that a lot of people would go here. I'm not the kind of person that's bouncing off the walls, but it's controlling my mind. And I bring this up not just to highlight strengths and weaknesses, but I believe that this is a difference in cognition. It's not a disability. I know I can do amazing things once I get my mind focused. I know students can too. I believe that recognizing my own strengths and weaknesses can help students with ADHD or any other disability overcome what they might be facing in their lives. It really helps me differentiate instruction. And as well as, sometimes when I get really beat down, especially completing the coursework in this program, I'll always remember meeting with Dr. Foster at the beginning of the year, and I was kind of wondering, and why do I go on? Why do I keep going? I always remember him telling me that it's because somewhere out there, there's a student that needs somebody to look him in the eye and said, I've been there, and you're going to get through this, and you can do it. I want to teach students about life. And if I teach them some about ag at the end of the day, then that's good too. And that's why I want to be a teacher. I want to thank you guys for coming and ask if you have any questions from the audience or the panel.
So Nate, during your 3.5 years of going through the program, you had to do some observational hours, right? You had to go through and observe your classrooms and such. So can you give an example of a moment whenever you're observing the classroom that really stuck out to you that you want to improve upon whenever you're a student teacher?
For me, it would be probably with observation hours for IEP students. And it was not necessarily a specific event, but it was seeing how seamlessly accommodations were put into the classroom by that particular instructor. Just because you would have, a student might have extended test hours or test time, or a shortened length of the test, whatever it might be, they never really appear different to their peers, which I believe is important. So I want to make sure that I do that seamlessly.
Thank you, Nathan. Comment from the Facebook Live audience says they really enjoy your haircut, by the way.
I knew Dr. Foster would work that in there.
No, you can see the conversation. But there is a question from a teacher who shares, how would you approach students who work ahead during small gas engine disassembly when they are also failing to make correct measurements and follow directions? So a very specific question. Students who work ahead during small gas engine disassembly when they are failing to make correct measurements and follow directions.
Well, first I would see, I'd analyze why they are working ahead. Is it because they're just trying to tear into things, or do they really have an understanding of what's going on with the engine process, with assembly and disassembly? And then are they really understanding what's going on? Maybe they missed a calibration or something here and there that's going to lead to a complete tear down again once it's reassembled. I try to work them through that process of seeing the importance of keeping accurate notes while we're doing that project. And if they prove to me that they're able to they have that understanding of why they would be taking the measurements and they still want to work ahead, I might use them as a peer mentor for another student in the class.
Thank you. Questions from the audience? Mr. Cahill.
You mentioned how you're going to prepare your students for industry. How are you going to prepare them to achieve higher levels of thinking and be college ready?
Have to be college ready, particularly.
You seem like you emphasized preparing students for industry when, as that is a goal of ag education, it's not the sole goal of education.
Well, when you think industry, I know a lot of folks would tend to think blue-collar, entry-level jobs. But when I would talk with Mr. Brown over the summer, with our summer reading, the theme college prepped, career ready kept coming out. They have the basic knowledge that they could enter at an entry level in the career, but also the range and scope and depth of the information I present them that gives them the basis to go on the university or higher level of thinking. And I believe industry can also include those jobs that require a graduate degree or a doctorate. It's finding what was right for that student, what career pathway would be best for them, and I'm going to present the information out there to get them there. And if they go into a more entry-level position, it would be great if they have a way of thinking that is already higher than some others.
Okay. Question from the teacher education panel.
Nate, can you provide an example of how you would, a specific example of academic reinforcement integration in the units you will be instructing as a student teacher?
So like what you would call the regular core classes integrated in the ag classroom. Central Columbia is a program where just about every unit includes, I'm blanking on the term now, but it is a written assignment about what they are doing that shows thought process through that. And we would work with English teachers as well to help with things such as grammar, spelling, what have you. Help prepare them for technical writing, as well as that more in-depth writing. You can, of course, you could show how to do something, but are you able to write out the steps? Every unit has some sort of writing assignment included as well.
Questions from the audience?
Nate, can you give me an example of how you make FFA intracurricular, like a specific example?
A specific example, intracurricular. I believe that with the careers unit, that is going to be the first thing I start off teaching. We are going to go through exploring careers We're going to go through resume writing, cover letters. That all goes a part of the job preparations or job interview CDE. And not only just with the CDE, FFA stresses the professionalism that I would expect out of students. I know that while we focus mostly on that in that careers unit, I also want to make sure I include the professionalism side of it as well. I can show them examples like dressing prepared for success, as in having your FFA official dress, like to the T, as you go on.
Keelan?
Nathan, in our program planning course, we talked a lot about advisory committees and utilizing those groups to enhance our program. Could you select one or two stakeholder groups that you would include on your advisory committee and share why that group should be represented on your advisory council in your program?
Okay. So one area that I want to see represented is parents. I do get into a little issue with that though, with having more so past parents than current parents, because I believe they really would have the understanding of seeing their child graduate from the program and where the program skills have taken them and where they can be improved for a student to help them 10 years down the road. That's how I see parents being an important part of the advisory council. Also, for a specific example, there is some, Mr. Brown explained to me how there is like a dog food plant local to the area, possibly having people that work in and around that plant. And they have a firsthand knowledge of what they look for in employees, and they can bring that example to the students through me, as these are what employers are looking for to help you get a job there.
Thank you.
And I'd like you to step out right front, right next to the rows. I'd like you to look right here, and I want you to answer this question. Why should an administrator hire you?
All right. Well, if an administrator hires me, I believe they are not hiring a teacher that is there solely for the 7 to 3 school day, or whatever the hours might be. They are hiring somebody to be a part of the community. I would look forward to helping with the local 4-H clubs or county, wherever I may end up. I have that experience with cross country. I would look forward to coaching track and cross country. Even just musicals and participation and understanding where students would come through with that, and seeing how my program could benefit each one of those areas involved. And I have sort of a small town personality too, in the sense that no matter where I end up, I want to stay local, support local businesses. Maybe some of those are even parents of students in my program. I just want to make the general area where I live a better place because I am the teacher in the FFA group.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause for that.